Hi, everyone. I'd like to begin by thanking the Lionheart Foundation for inviting me to speak today. I recognize that it's not often that you get the opportunity to publicly thank the individual that has completely changed your life and the foundation that has made this relationship possible. I feel very honored and humbled to have that opportunity, so thank you very much. My journey began back when I was 17 years old. I was going through a hard time, and I was in a situation that felt like I had no control. Feeling hurt and frustrated, I turned to something that I could control, my food and exercise routine. I thought that maybe if I focused on being smaller, that these uncomfortable emotions would go away and life would just get easier. This logic, as you might be able to tell, was wildly irrational, but my mind told me it was a bulletproof plan. I began being meticulous about what I was putting into my body to the point of restriction. I ensured I got to the gym every day, and I began engaging in purging behaviors when I felt it was necessary. This time period marked my first encounter with disordered eating, a relationship that would continue for the next 6 years and one that I still deal with today. My disordered eating pattern slowly gained more control over my life as time progressed, and by the time I was in my third year of university, food restriction was ingrained into my everyday routine. I was in an intense and demanding program at school, but when my attention should have been on engaging in class discussions and finding a respectable internship, it was instead focused on these intense and constant hunger pains from restricting, and on not falling asleep in class because I was so exhausted from these strenuous workouts. I had learned about intermittent fasting, and that was my way of hiding these unhealthy behaviors from family and friends. Any concerned comments were quickly dismissed by reassuring them that they didn't need to worry, I was fine. I didn't fit the stereotypical and honestly inaccurate mold of a girl with an eating disorder. You couldn't see my bones, and I ate something every day. My normal weight signified to everybody that I must be healthy. The daily restriction, exercise, and purging behaviors were physically, mentally, and emotionally depleting. I knew what I was doing wasn't healthy or sustainable, and I racked my brain for months as to how I was going to get out of these unhealthy patterns. Where others would have seen a simple solution of, taking a break from exercise or eating more or not purging, I saw a detrimental result of gaining weight. A voice in my head repeatedly told me that if I gained weight, I would be worthless. That being small was the only thing that I was good at. I honestly didn't know who I was if I wasn't skinny. And it was then that I turned to therapy, desperately in need of support. I walked into that first session with Carrie a little skeptical and unsure, but I left feeling seen, heard, understood, and honestly just better than I had in months. I knew deeply that if I ever wanted to get better, I needed to continue seeing Carrie. And it wasn't that I didn't have love and support in my life, because I did. I had my parents and my sisters, my friends, and they all wanted to support me. Everyone tried their best, but no one truly understood what I was going through, something that would be pivotal to my recovery. When I felt alone or misunderstood, Carrie was always there. I'd love to say that after that first session that I only got better, that I immediately started eating and I never purged again, but that's not the reality of what happened. Over the past couple years, I've still had a lot of highs and a lot of lows. Time and time again, my eating disorder has found a way to creep in, usually during big life transitions, which is something I've had quite a few of recently. My disordered eating patterns eventually became so all-consuming that I was overcome by a full-blown eating disorder in 2020. I quit my highly regarded job in finance when restriction and purging became so rooted in my daily behaviors that I just couldn't function. What was supposed to be a new and fun and exciting adventure to Europe with my school's exchange program is now only remembered by my hunger levels and if I purge that day or not. Recovery has oftentimes felt hopeless lonely, exhausting, all-consuming, and most of all, shameful that I couldn't get through it. It was only 5 months ago that I was evaluating different 8-week-long eating disorder programs because I truly did not see a way out of this constant, repetitive cycle. And while it's felt like I've hit rock bottom more than once or twice, I want to make it clear that my journey hasn't just been this deep, dark hole of despair. You see, for every time my eating disorder has pushed me down, I've fought my way back up. Weeks where I couldn't even think of eating 3 meals a day were eventually conquered by a steady routine of energizing meals. Years of exercising to burn calories has been replaced by my desire to move my body out of love rather than hate. Calorie counting and strict eating schedules has been overpowered by far more memories of enjoying delicious food with loved ones. And while some of this is due to my perseverance, to my dedication to myself and my recovery, I could not have achieved this on my own. The subsidy that I've received from the Lionheart Foundation has provided access to therapy to support my recovery, allowing me to sit with Carrie for hours upon hours over the last 3.5 years. I attribute a large portion of my progress to this time with her. Carrie's faith in me and my recovery has never wavered. And although she has always seen the light at the end of the tunnel, she consistently meets me where I am. She refuses to let me invalidate my experiences and my struggles, no matter how hard I try. And she's taught me how it's actually never been about the food, but it's about this deeper emotion that I'm usually trying to escape, whether it's unworthiness, loneliness, sadness. And she creates a space where we can dive into these uncomfortable emotions, teaching me how to cope with them in a way that's healthy, rather than seeking restriction as a solution. In the past, when I would run to the bathroom or the gym in response to an uncomfortable emotion, I now turn to my journal to reflect. This awareness that Carrie has taught me allows me to meet my eating disorder with kindness and compassion, rather than hatred and resentment. I truly believe that I would not be who I am today without Carrie. I am and forever will be grateful to her and the difference that she has made in my life. I stand with you here today a completely different person as to who I was when I first began therapy. When there were days, months, and years when I struggled to see a way out, thinking I'd be captive to this illness for the rest of my life, I am now confident that there will be a day where I can look at my eating disorder as a part of my past, rather than as my constant reality. My eating disorder has robbed me of far too much in the last 6 years, from job opportunities to experiences, but I no longer give it the power to dictate my everyday life. Eating disorder recovery is not a linear process, and it has not been one for me. After I started seeing Carrie, I had no idea the years of fight that I had ahead of me. And that's why all those years ago, when Carrie told me about the Lionheart Foundation, I didn't fully grasp the gravity of the benefit that this subsidy would bring. The ability to focus completely on my recovery rather than the financial burden that is so commonly associated with therapy has made a massive difference on my mental well-being. There's no question in my mind as to the impact that this foundation has made in my life, and I am certain is making in the lives of others. I have been fortunate enough to work with Carrie and the Lionheart Foundation to support my eating disorder recovery, but many do not have that opportunity. The reality of the world that we live in is that therapy is still extremely inaccessible. Costly in nature, therapy is unavailable to many that need it the most. It's the support of donors like yourself that is creating a world where ongoing support can be an option to people. I'd like to express my deep gratitude to, of course, Carrie, to the Lionheart Foundation, and to the donors of this foundation. Thank you for changing my life and allowing me to live one that I used to only dream of. Thank you.